I'm also joined by Chief Executive of UK Lawyers for Israel, Jonathan Turner. Jonathan, you're very welcome back to the programme. I'm glad to have you with us again this evening. Can I get your reaction to the International Court of Justice's ruling?
Well, thank you for having me on again. So first of all, I think the way you described the ruling earlier, and to some extent the way the previous speaker described it, is not actually a correct interpretation of the order. When you read it carefully, and you do have to read it carefully, and look at what the words say, including the punctuation, it is, I think, quite clear that it only prevents Israel from carrying out military or other operations in Rafah if and to the extent that they could bring about the physical destruction of Palestinians as a group in Gaza, in whole or in part, let's say as a national or ethnic or racial group in Gaza.
Yeah, and that's quite clear. And the interpretation, which is being widely, it's being widely interpreted in various international news organisations and from experts that have been on, is that that's the court, the ICJ, ordering Israel to stop its operation in Rafah. Are you saying that Israel won't comply or is unlikely to comply with that order?
I am saying that that is not a correct interpretation of the court's order. And it is notable that media organisations previously interpreted the order of the court back in January wrongly. And President Donoghue, the judge presiding over the court in January, who's now retired, has said in an interview on the BBC, in the Hard Talk programme by Stephen Sackur, she said that the media organisations have been, and others have been reporting this wrongly. We did not decide that there was a plausible case of genocide. We decided that there was that Palestinians and South Africa have plausible rights. And then went on to talk about the risk of irreparable damage to the plausible rights, but did not decide there was a plausible case of genocide. And your previous speaker correctly acknowledged that. But I mentioned that to show that what people say about what the court said is not necessarily correct.
So you disagree with that interpretation? Jonathan, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you disagree with that interpretation, but the wider interpretation I would put to you is that the ICJ is asking for a cessation of its operation, Israel's operation in Rafah.
No, I don't think so.
Sorry. Let me ask. I'm saying that seems to be the wider interpretation. So can I ask you, if they don't comply with that order, are they likely to be viewed as a rogue state?
Well, I think they are going to comply with the order and carry on their operation. So I don't think your suggestion applies. We'll get
nowhere there. They've also ordered that the Rafah border crossing with Egypt be opened for the entry of humanitarian aid. Do you think that should happen, or do you think Israel will comply?
Well, Israel wants to open the Rafah crossing, and it's open on the Gaza side, where the Israeli forces are in control of the area of the crossing on the Gaza side. But Egypt refuses to open it. The crossing is between the Gaza Strip and Egypt, not between the Gaza Strip and Israel. So it will only be opened if Egypt is willing to open it, or if Israel invades Egypt, kills or gets the Egyptian troops to surrender, and starts a war against Egypt. Now, I don't believe that the International Court could have possibly intended that to be
I don't think that's their interpretation, because they didn't order Egypt to order the crossing. They ordered Israel to open the crossing. They also want Israel to come back within a month to make sure that it's complying with these orders. And if they don't, there is a situation where it could reflect badly, as Professor Nealon said, in the wider case of genocide against Israel, and it could further isolate Israel on the world stage. Is that a fear, I wonder?
Yeah, can I just say also in relation to the Rafah crossing, there are numerous other crossings that are now open. So the Rafah crossing is not actually necessary to enable the humanitarian aid to go into the Gaza Strip and into a Rafah area
The
itself.
ICJ obviously believes it is.
Well, I think that shows a lack of care and attention to detail by the International Court. I think the previous speaker was wrong to suggest that they had looked at every matter in this case carefully. I think what they said about Rafah shows a distinct lack of care and attention to detail, which I think is deeply unsatisfactory.
Well, we need to be careful about detail, don't we? And can I go back to your claim that the interpretation of the order to stop its military operation in Rafah is incorrect? Let me quote to you Judge Salam. He's the president of the International Court of Justice. In ordering Israel to halt its offensive in Rafah, he said the current situation there entailed further risks of irreparable harm to the rights of people in Gaza. He said the situation had changed since the ICJ made its previous orders and conditions had been met for new emergency measures in the case. And the court notes, he said, that the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, which, as stated in its order of the 26th of January 2024, was at serious risk of deteriorating, has deteriorated, and has done so even further since the court adopted its order of the 28th of March. So there you have it. He's saying that the conditions have been fulfilled to order a cessation of the operation in Rafah.
Well, the last bit wasn't there in what you just quoted. The court did make an additional order, but it didn't say that the operation must cease unconditionally.
It was
there.
And
it is. He did. No, it wasn't there.
I have it open in front of me, Jonathan.
Which paragraph are you looking at?
I have it's in the conclusion and measures to be adopted.
No, he said immediately halt its military offensive.
Paragraph
and
28.
Any other action.
Can you go to paragraph? No, let's work this out together. Do you have it open before you?
Yeah, I've got it here.
Okay,
in front
can you
of
go to paragraph 28?
Yes. Okay.
Can you read it out for me?
That's not the end of the order.
Yeah, no, I know it's not. Can you read that out for me?
But 28. The court notes that the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, which, as stated in its order of 26 January 2024, was at serious risk of deteriorating, has deteriorated and has done so even further since the court adopted its order of 28 March 2024. That's what he's saying. And I should say that the evidence shows
That's exactly what you said wasn't there.
But no.
Paragraph 29 says the court considers...
What I said wasn't there was the court ordering that the operation in Rafah must cease immediately, full stop. He didn't actually say, he added always the qualification.
Let's read paragraph 29 together. The court considers that the above-mentioned developments, which are exceptionally grave, in particular the military offensive in Rafah, and the resulting repeated large-scale displacement of the already extremely vulnerable Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip, constitute a change in the situation within the meaning of Article 76 of the Rules of the Court. And he goes...
Yes, and that still doesn't say that the operation must cease.
Okay.
So you go to where he puts the conclusion in his reasoning, if you like, which is that... sorry, the actual order is on page 15, and that says immediately halt its military offensive and any other action in the Rafah Governorate, which may inflict on the Palestinian group in Gaza conditions of life that could bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. And certainly my interpretation of the order is very clearly affirmed in the concurring judgments of Judge Nolter and Judge Aurescu, and also in the dissenting judgment of Judge Barak.
Okay. Well, you know what we'll do?
There's no suggestion that those judges, Judge Salam didn't come back and say, no, you've misinterpreted my order.
Do you know what we'll do?
So I think it is actually very clear at this point.
Okay, maybe it is. Maybe it is from your point of view. Do you know what we will do? Because we can pore over every single word of the court's order today. Let's have a quick glance of the international news agencies and their headlines. Let me go first to The Guardian. UN's top court orders Israel to immediately halt Rafah offensive. Let me go to the BBC.
Yes, this won't be the first time that the Guardian's got it wrong.
Let me do it. Okay, well, maybe the BBC then, you prefer. UN's top court orders Israel to halt military operations in Rafah. Are they also incorrect?
Yeah, and again, I mean, the BBC got it wrong previously.
Okay, so let me give you the New York Times then. Maybe the New York Times will get it right. Top UN court orders Israel to halt its offensive in Rafah.
Are
you taking us for fools, Jonathan?
Yes, well, I'm afraid you've all got it wrong.
Everyone is wrong, bar Israel.
No, not bar Israel. As I said, these media organisations, I think all of them, got it wrong previously in relation to the January order, and it took Judge Donoghue, the president of the court, to say she welcomed the opportunity to correct it on Stephen Sacker's interview on the BBC.
Okay.
And the BBC have since published an article on their website which effectively acknowledges they got it wrong. And my colleague Natasha Hausdorff, who's very incisive and very able, had pointed this out.
It's incredible
it
is incredible that everybody has got it wrong, bar the UK lawyers for Israel. Let me quote you one other headline from Haaretz.
We are a very careful and accurate organisation.
Fair enough. Let me court you, and I accept that you think that as well. The Haaretz newspaper, an Israeli newspaper, ICJ orders Israel to halt any Rafah offensive that harms civilians. Can I ask you then? Let's imagine
that's closer to the truth. Not quite correct.
So they didn't get it right.
That's more close.
Can I ask you then? Do you think Israel should allow investigators into Gaza? Because that's another order that the ICJ has made.
Well, I think that's a difficult decision for Israel to make. I agree that the court did order that. Israel has very genuine and legitimate concerns regarding the lack of impartiality and, frankly, lack of integrity of some of the UN staff and rapporteurs, etc. So I don't know what Israel will do in this regard.
Okay.
But certainly that is something that the court has ordered.
Jonathan Turner, Chief Executive of UK Lawyers for Israel. Thank you for joining us.